Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to the first episode of the Your Neck of the Woods podcast. Thank you so much for joining me here. I am accompanied by my good friend Gabe, my producer and partner in crime. He is going to be my voice in the room. He will do everything to enhance the presentation that I'm not capable of doing, and this would not be possible without him. So thank you, Gabe, so much. I appreciate everything you do for me. I really do. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And Gabe actually, as you'll see here, got us this very nice microphone, which I would be talking into, like a much more handsome version of Larry King right now. However, um, they sent us a broken microphone, and we have to send it back. So hopefully, soon we get a working microphone. Hopefully, the picture quality isn't too bad for you if you are watching this. The filter on my webcam seems to be occasionally turning me into an alien. So if I appear green to you, I apologize. I promise it is me, James, and I'm still Caucasian. I have not transitioned to Martian. So I'll be here. I'm here. And every single episode, the quality, sound quality, picture quality, availability, it's only going to get better with time. Every single thing. They say practice makes perfect, proofs in the pudding, yada, yada, yada. I will continue to put that into work here. So, the podcast, what are our goals here? We have two goals. I want to talk about two things about the weather in particular. Every, Everybody talks about the weather. Oh, what do you do? You get in the elevator, you shoot the shit, blah, 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 blah. Oh, how's the weather today? How's the weather up there? Again, I don't care about day-to-day weather operations. Obviously, I'll forecast locally, and I'll forecast for anyone that wants a specific forecast for wherever they're going to be or wherever they are during a specific event. Comment, send me a message. I'm more than happy. I'd love to do it. However, we're going to focus on things that are important, that I find important to um, weather that is important to your day-to-day life because it affects so much of your day-to-day life. And more importantly, because this is the fun aspect, is the most interesting things that occur in the weather community. Because there is so much that is misunderstood, um, not necessarily talked enough in the depths or thoroughness that it needs to be, and this gives me a platform to do so. It's a beautiful opportunity, and I thank you so much for joining me. Without further ado, let's get into the weather. Enough of me rambling. Um, we're gonna start with a little forecast, little what to expect the next few days, and then after I do that, I would like to discuss a little bit about our local where we're at in terms of our local climatology. We'll talk a little bit about the earthquake from the past couple weeks, as well as the historic rainfall event that occurred in Dubai on Tuesday night. Um, tomorrow tomorrow the goal is to have episode two up, and we will be discussing the other two major events that have occurred, as well as updating our local weather. Severe weather across the Midwest, as well as the volcanic eruption in Indonesia. So, without further ado, it's raining again. It is also April. They say April showers for a reason. It's climatologically favored. Year after year after year, it, we are going to get rain in April. Um, we've gotten a lot over the last few weeks, and we will continue to have more showers on and off here and there over the next few weeks. Tonight we had a area of low pressure move in from the southwest. It came through Ohio. I almost said Iowa, and then across northeast Pennsylvania. I'm sorry, northwest Pennsylvania, and then swung in to our area from the southeast. Um, Brought in about zero point 0.3 to zero point 0.4 tenths of rainfall tonight. We've had gusty winds tonight being Wednesday night. We've had some on and off downpours with gusty winds accompanied. Nothing crazy, but enough to continue to keep things very soggy out there. And that is going to be the theme of, I think, the uh, next 10 days or so is hopefully slowly getting out of soggy, um, and getting more springy, more out of let mud season never wants to end in central New York. Let's end mud season. As Bill Cardis would like to say, shout out Bill Cardis, it's time for the pollening. 12 seasons of central New York is quite funny if you've never watched, if you've never seen that post. We didn't get much snow this winter. Snow is not necessarily a drought killer, or necessary to prevent drought. We've gotten so much rain that reservoirs, water levels in the lakes, all across the Adirondacks and Central New York's incredibly high. Streams, rivers, creeks, not fishable yet. I would love. I'm watching, hoping showers dodge us in certain spots, like a crazy person, just because I want to go catch a trout. But it's still too wet, too high. The water is too fast, too high to drown a worm. At this point, hopefully that changes sooner than later. There is some hope in the future, but it's not going to be for at least a few days. So what else is coming in the next day or two? As for excuse me, as for Thursday, yet another windy day. Nothing crazy, but we're talking 20-25 mile per hour gusts, enough to be a nuisance. Um, I it's been so abnormally windy over the last 4 months. I wish it could be quantified. I'm sure it can be quantified. It would make one heck of a research paper for a graduate student. If they were able to quantify how much more windy it has been in the last 4 months as opposed to the average winter, or I should, as I would personally say, any winter. Um, but that's not too big of a deal. Showers are going to wind down very quickly tomorrow. Um, Maybe not very quickly, but relatively quickly. It's not going to be a washout of a day at all. Um, Temperatures tomorrow are going to be weird. Um, it's going to be 47 degrees at 7 a.m., but it's only going to be 50 by 4 p.m. So we're looking at a 3-degree rise in temperature throughout the day on Thursday, which is basically nothing. It's going to be pretty gloomy, pretty overcast. Likelihood of precipitation does decrease throughout the day. So uh, even if it does happen to rain later into the day, later into the morning than I anticipate, we're not looking at downpours. We're looking at nuisance rain, showers, very light, um, very light showers that will be weakening and moving out of the region. And as the day goes on, high pressure will eliminate any remnants of them by sunset. That's only going to continue into Friday morning. High pressure will continue to build. As the high pressure continues to build, it's going to do some weird things. It's going to do some things that don't necessarily happy happen with high pressure. Um, it is going to briefly push Thursday's rain away, Thursday night into Friday morning. Um, but unfortunately, it is not going to be enough to prevent more showers and thunderstorms from arriving Friday afternoon and evening. Um, we have a pretty strong cold front that's going to approach Friday. Average time right now in Utica, I would say ETA 2:30, 3 o'clock p.m.-ish. Um, going to be a nice, pretty lengthy round of heavy rain, gusty winds, south wind 10 to 20 miles per hour, sustained ahead of the storms, more gusty winds embedded within the storms. Um, Unfortunately, the exact timing of the front is unknown at this time, depending on whether it comes through closer to 2 p.m. or 4 p.m. will make a big difference on exactly what time the precipitation ends Friday night. Regardless, high pressure comes back in again, and late Friday night and Saturday morning look. Unfortunately, this particular area of high pressure is going to allow for a secondary weaker backdoor cold front to cross our region. Saturday, cloud cover will then increase, but more importantly, as will the wind. The theme of this podcast, theme of episode one, apparently is wind. The theme of this entire winter has been wind. Um, Winds are going to be out of the west northwest on Saturday, 15 to 25 miles per hour, so more substantial than the next couple days. The windiest day of the upcoming week. Um, Winds are going to be out of the west northwest, with gusts up to 30 miles an hour. Nothing that should cause damage, small limbs, branches, nuisance wind. I don't. My hair is not going to get ruined by it, but if you're driving with the windows down, you might need a comb afterward. Or even if you take a walk from your car into work, it's going to be blustery. Going to continue to stay blustery. Um, Saturday night, as we dry out, it gets very cold. Last night's low was 31 degrees in Utica, so below freezing. Still not ready to plant around here. Still cold enough for a nice hard freeze and frost, apparently. I saw some few pictures from across central New York of very frosty front yards. Um, we'll have a similar night to that, similar morning to that Sunday morning. Temperature expected to be a degree or two higher, 33, 34. But scattered frost for sure and a cold night in store. Um, with that being said, things are going to improve. On Sunday, we will have way more sun than clouds. Um, we are looking at temperatures that are closer to the upper 50s as opposed to lower 50s. Um, and Sunday should be a day that we can all enjoy. Um, After Saturday, overnight lows look to rise a little bit for the next week. Um, that doesn't mean it's time to plant yet. We cannot, it's still way too early to plant. It's looking like mid-May is the typical time for the Mohawk Valley for if you're going to have a garden. I personally like to grow some vegetables. If you garden, looking like we're shooting for mid-May for like for to safely plant. Um, I will monitor to see if we can speed that up. I always try, but mid-May is always the safest bet. Any earlier than that, you're playing with fire. Um, while Sunday will be a drastic improvement as opposed to the days preceding it, what days do you want to get outside or try to make outdoor plans or have, some outdoor activities scheduled? In the Utica area, I would forecast for Monday right now sunny and 60, and I would forecast partly sunny 63 for Tuesday. So Monday, Tuesday next week, definitely a vast improvement. Hopefully we stay that way. Either way, I see no signs of the white stuff that flies in the air in the forecast, short or long range. So that's a beautiful thing. I want to talk a little bit now. I'll be able to fly now that I'm not like reading off of my forecast notes. I want to talk a little bit about pollen allergies and what is typical about timing for planting for gardens around central New York? Um, if the unfortunate souls who are forced to deal with allergies every year have not realized this yet, the pollen counts locally have skyrocketed over the last couple days. My trees in Utica, in the front yard and back, have budded. Um, the tulips at the lodge are blooming and healthy as heck. Um, things are beginning to grow. All different types of flowers. I would say more people on my street mowed their lawn this week than didn't. Still a little early for me. But crazy that things are really going to start ramping up in terms of growth. Couple things to keep in mind. Not everything grows at the same time, and not everybody's allergic to the same thing. If you're a pollen person and early season growth tends to affect you, be prepared for the next few days to be the start of your allergy season. Me personally, I can wipe, film of pollen off the roof of my car, not sneeze at all. But something grows towards mid late summer that every year I get a week of a sniffle and a cough, not or a sniffle and a tickle. It's everybody's different. Everybody's allergic to different things. Here's another thing that I don't want to go. Just another side. Don't We're not going to go crazy here. But as the climate changes, things are growing in different places than they grew before too. So that's another thing to keep in mind. We'll worry about that when it becomes a problem. But don't plant your garden yet. That's what we're getting at. Even if we do get back to back 60-degree days, Monday, Tuesday next week, and you're getting the itch, like, oh man, I'm outdoors, and play it safe. Play it safe. We'll have a long enough growing season. Wait until mid-May. Um, if you don't live in the lower elevations that struggle to get snowfall when elevation-driven snowfall comes through that I talk about, um, you may want to wait till late May. Again, these are all things that I will keep an eye on with long-term temperature outlooks. But for where the majority of people lie in the Mohawk Valley, um, we are looking at mid-May. Looking at mid-May. Hopefully early mid-May. So that's my goal. That's normally my goal. So let's talk about this earthquake. We're a little waited a little long. This did happen over 10 days ago at this point, but something very interesting that when you discuss about the earthquake is that there's something different about earthquakes on the East Coast than on the West Coast. And there's a reason that things occurred the way that they did, and the reason that certain media outlets had different levels of backlash than others. There were reasons that people out west were calling people in the East weak and teasing us, saying we should grow up. This is nothing for them. There's a lot to this. So, without further ado, what, where, why? There was a 4.8 magnitude earthquake just 30 miles west of Newark, New Jersey. And yes, we do get earthquakes. They do happen here. It doesn't happen often, especially not catastrophic or problematic earthquakes, but they still do happen at least semi regularly in the East Coast. I'm definitely not a geologist, but I did my research. Um, I've always been curious about this. It seems like it had always seemed to me that a weaker earthquake in the East was a bigger deal than in the West, and I always attributed it to um, Eastern media or media on the East Coast using it because they're less frequent and it's a good headline grab. But there's more to it than that. It is all about the rocks. The rocks, the rocks, the rocks. So in the West, the epicenter of an earthquake, um, effects from the earthquake are confined closer to the epicenter, as opposed to in the East Coast, the feel radius is substantially wider. Um, and the sole reason is because our rocks are different than they are out west. And I can go further into this. It's absolutely fascinating. Thank you to Jeff Weiss and Morgan McFall Johnson. They wrote an amazing piece in Business Insider about all of this that taught me all kinds of information. The earthquake, which was in Newark, New Jersey, could was felt. Think about the East Coast, Newark, New Jersey, right around. You even say New York City if you're not great with geography. You could feel it. It was reported that it was felt in Philadelphia, in Boston, in Utica, in Syracuse, and Rochester, and even the eastern towns of Buffalo. That is an extremely vast area. Um, and it was only a 4.8 magnitude earthquake. We're not talking a 9.2 that caused a tsunami that really changed the fault lines. Um, this was, just your run of the mill. I mean, it was a pretty big earthquake. This is the biggest earthquake. I actually have it written down here. This was the biggest earthquake that we've had in the East Coast since 2011. In 2011, there was a 5.9 magnitude earthquake in Virginia. This was a 4.8. So that was 5.9 is very strong. We've had nothing in the realm of 4.8 even since then. And that was 14 years ago. Or I'm sorry, 13 years ago. So this is a pretty big deal. It's headline news. It's definitely worthy of news. Um, but approximately because of because of the rocks, the sole reason isn't necessarily, well, yeah, it is the type of rock, but it's combination of the rocks on the East Coast versus the West Coast being older, colder, which I found weird. The temperature actually does play a role into it, um, and denser, based off of rock type. The other thing that is kind of glossed over is fault type. Um, our fault types are higher at our fault types on the East Coast are closer to the surface of the Earth, whereas the fault lines in the West Coast are deep. They're farther beneath the surface. That also plays a major role in what causes earthquakes in the East to travel 4 to 5 times farther than they do in the West. Why is this a big deal? And is why am I bringing all of this up? What am I getting in here? What point am I trying to make? When we talk about the Richter scale, a lot of people use damage to estimate reports, to estimate the strength before we get actual magnitude readings. That's a dangerous, slippery slope, especially because there are so many factors that go into determining what caused the damage, and where the damage occurred, and whether the damage um, was caused because of socioeconomic circumstances, negligence. There are so many factors at play. So I have to stress when you're the next time we have a major earthquake or even a standard earthquake, wait for the USGS to say epicenter here, estimated magnitude blank before you jump to any conclusions about the actual magnitude, solely off of photos or videos. Um, it's yeah, slippery slope. One time I was sitting in my bedroom and I had an earthquake, or I believe it was the 2011 one, and a book fell down off of my bookcase and landed on my lap, woke me up in the middle of the night, and I thought that my sister was messing with me. So I jumped out of bed all mad, ran down the hallway, realized it was like 6:15 in the morning and I was the only one awake. And then I realized an earthquake was going on. I personally did not feel the earthquake the other day. I was asleep, slept right through it. But I know people, I have family that felt it. I have family that had things fall off their desk above them, like a binder fall onto the desk, and they're like, "This has never happened yet." So it's interesting to me that something so far away can still have effects around here. So now Dubai. Let's talk about Dubai really quick. Maybe not really quick, but somewhat quick. Dubai. What happened in Dubai? Dubai received 2 years of rain in a matter of hours. There's videos of extreme flooding that went viral all over the place Wednesday morning. It's all over national news. Um, it's even on local news. Um, there's a million factors at play with this event. Um, so when you find one person blaming one sole reason, simply that person's simply misinformed. Let's start with the possible nefarious aspect of this disaster. Um, a lot of pundits are pointing to and blaming cloud seeding for this freakish event. Let's pause. First, it's incredibly important to have a basic understanding of what cloud seeding is, why it is done, and if you look in the wrong place, you are going to find pseudoscience. And I really want to take the time to, if you're going to pause this, ignore it, skip it, come back to it. Cloud seeding, very important to understand, very important for you to understand why are our government why are governments doing it, why other governments are doing it, why it's being talked about like this, and what is the truth, what is fiction. But it is a little, I got to be a little slow about explaining it. Cloud seeding, um, it's a human weather modification system, something that humans actually do through the Earth's atmosphere with the goal of changing the weather, which sounds crazy. It's like, oh, we're altering the weather. We can control the weather. Not exactly. Not exactly. Um, Maybe not at all, which we'll get to. Uh, Cloud seeding is used in most cases to increase the amount of or likelihood of precipitation. If you see the cloud, the goal is to make it drop some form of liquid or more of it. Is it effective? I don't know. Scientists don't know. Been argued for decades, still argued. There's I'm not going to sit here and tell you that cloud seeding is bad for you, cloud seeding is good for you, cloud seeding is fine for you. I'm not going to sit here and say cloud seeding is great for the environment. I'm not going to say that cloud seeding is bad for the environment. I don't know. I don't think the scientists even fully know. All I can tell you is what is going on, why it's going on, and why it likely did not have anything to do with what happened in Dubai. So, while there are people that argue that there are environmental and health effects, the majority of, not the majority, but every reputable scientist in the United States is on record saying that health effects are minimal. Now, I would prefer them to say non-existent and not minimal. I'd feel a lot better. I'd sleep a little bit better at night. But yeah, minimal. We'll get to what how cloud seeding is done. To understand cloud seeding, you have to understand how rain forms. With with condensation, as air cools and rises. Um, Sorry, I just want to be careful here because I really don't want to get into too many topics that nobody really knows the answer to. Um, so cloud seeding. Cloud seeding is done by cloud condensation nuclei, more commonly referred to as cloud seeds. They're tiny particles, a hundredth of the size of a raindrop. Why do we do this? Water vapor requires something other than gas to transition from water vapor within the cloud into a liquid. It occurs naturally every day with rain as a result I just combine two words, as a result of salt and dust being present in the atmosphere. When scientists, governments, businesses decide to cloud seed, they put nuclei, not even necessarily salt or dust, into clouds via planes, drones, to put in place a non-gaseous surface to increase the speed and likelihood of precipitation. Now, yet again, this is not proven to even work, yet it is still done everywhere in the world, even by the United States. Um, there is evidence, and in theory, it does work. If you understand, like I said, as you now do, the more nuclei in the cloud, in theory, it should produce more rain. Studies have gone back and forth. Scientists have gone back and forth. But here again, let's talk about what we know to be the primary the primary nuclei that is added to cloud seed, even to this day in 2024, and even in the United States, and they'll admit this, is silver iodide. The second most common, potassium iodide. It might be safe, but I'd rather not have it in my water. Dry ice can be used. That sounds a lot better than the other alternatives. Um, and I'm sure there are other governments using other things and experimenting and other information that we haven't been fully made aware of. With that being said, United Arab Emirates, which is where Dubai is located, um, they do the more cloud seeding than anyone else in the world, for a variety of reasons. Um, Cloud seeding can be useful, if it works. There are many businesses that believe that they are able to better their profit margins as a result of doing cloud seeding. The primary reason a government would do cloud seeding, um, they may try to alleviate drought. They may try to use it to alleviate drought. Um, they may try to use it to alleviate um, fog. It can be used, it tends to kill fog as well as increase visibility in general, especially in airport environments. So it's been used for that. Um, in the United States, it was primarily used for snow originally, because the goal was to build up snowpack in the West, and then, um, with that being successful, even though I mentioned snowpack is not the end all be all to a healthy water supply. If they enhance the snowpack, they would enhance their water supply. And who would be paying for this company? Or I should say, who would be paying for this cloud seeding? Well, as of 2022, Sacramento Municipal Utility District decided that, well, they actually decided in 1969 that in order to increase water for their hydro plants across Northern California and Oregon, um, they were going to cloud seed the Sierra Nevadas. They claim, as of 2022, and I can't find much more information on this, that they believe 3 to 10% more snow falls in the Sierra Nevada every year as a result of what they do. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Um, what I did find was that more states do this than you'd think. As of 2000, as of 2012, 11 states in the West were still actively using clouds, still had active cloud seeding programs. Um, why? Here's why. Um, the primary goal, the severe droughts that have occurred over the last several decades. Some extremely wealthy ski resorts have tried to utilize it to enhance their business. Obviously, more snow means more meltdown, means more hydropower. Um, if you can reduce fog in major airports or reduce or correct visibility for your airports, you're not only increasing sales in flights for companies as but you're also making sure that your military can do whatever they want to do that day. Um, yeah, it's a mess in my personal opinion. Cloud seeding, I have decided after researching for episode one, is one of the most misunderstood, um, not maybe misunderstood by the general public, but it's not as there's not enough information available as there should be about who is doing what and why. And can't find a country advanced, whether you think they're advanced, not advanced, first world, third world. Um, everybody's at least looking into it. Um, and this is nothing that is new. This has been this technology has been around for a very long time, at least the theory of it. And the United States has had all kinds of programs where we tried to manipulate the weather in the past. Um, not what I'm going to get into. This is a weather podcast. I just want you to understand what cloud seeding is. Now, what happened in Dubai? Sorry, I rambled a little bit on the cloud seeding. So, what happened in Dubai? Dubai got 2 years worth of rain. Actually, it's about 2.5 years worth of rain, particularly in the city of Oman, which is a suburb of Dubai. They got about 2.5 years of rain, 10 inches of rain. They average about 2.5 to 3 inches per year in 24 hours. You'd think that in a place that has more cloud seeding than anywhere else in the world, that this may have had an effect. At first glance, it's kind of hard not to. Um, but after looking into it more, I can pretty confidently tell you that cloud seeding had absolutely nothing to do with the historical flooding. I do have to take a quick break here because my wonderful puppy Barkley has just woken up. and I gotta go hook them outside, so I will be right back. And I literally said, I go, well, we'll record while he's asleep, but it's only a matter of time before Barkley makes his podcast debut. Appreciate your patience, so I don't have to clean up pee on my floor. So 10 inches of rain in 24 hours in a place that doesn't get much rain. Not a good not a good forecast for success or for good environment. If you haven't seen the videos, they are impressive. You got the airport in Dubai flooded so badly that you're watching airplanes drive down the runway with the water up to the cabins. Cars completely submerged in water. One thing that I've not seen much in the media that also occurred with this event, yes, it was a crazy flooding rainfall event, but they also received damaging winds, damaging hail. Um, the thunderstorms were intense for Dubai, which is something that's I think is being overlooked. Um, by the way, cloud seeding was invented in 1940, so this is again nothing new. We've been doing this for a long time. It didn't become popular until the 1960s, um, at least in the United States, that is. But no government is going out of their way to tell you everything they're doing about it, what they're experimenting, what they've learned, why they're doing it, how much they're doing it, so on and so forth. Nothing really for us to worry about, nothing we can control. So, but I can tell you this: we don't even know if it works, and it had nothing to do with the Dubai floods, and it may never have anything to do with any weather. So, what happened in Dubai was a worst case scenario. Um, but there's a few things that we can look at to prove that I can prove to you that it had nothing to do with cloud seeding. Um, 6 days, let me take off my tinfoil hat. Every conspiracy theorist out there is going to tell you that cloud seeding had a lot to do with this. There are many reasons why it did not. Um, Gabe, can you let him in? Thank you. Gabe's going to let my dog in. I have read and found that this was forecasted on weather model, made all the major weather models. Okay, um, over 6 days before the event occurred, the most respected weather models all forecasted greater than one entire year's worth of rain for that day in Dubai. So the writing was on the wall that something was going to happen 6 days ahead of time. Forecasts continued to get worse, and they did alert the people. Now, it wasn't the end all. It wasn't enough to stop the worst case scenario that happened that made the flooding even worse. Um, when storms happen to line up in a particular formation and they happen to traverse over each other, a training event can occur. Basically, think of a train, line of cars, and sometimes when one thunderstorm happens to fire up behind the next one, just like a train has to they follow one and the other, and the rain falls in the same spot. This happened times 10 in this event. Um, and the same areas that were getting the heaviest rain continued to get the heaviest rain, particularly that city of Oman where 18 people perished. Um, however, the two biggest things to me about why you can rule out cloud seeding. This happened before. This happened before the United Arab Emirates even did cloud seeding. Um, in Dubai, They have measured 9.4 inches of rain in 24 hours before. It's not the first time that it's not the first time that 2+ years of rain has fallen in a 24-hour period in this region. So while it's one in X 100 year event, it's not never been recorded. Um, the other thing, dust is a natural cloud seeder, as we were talking before. What is in Dubai? Dust. What again? Well, obviously, with the arid climate that is around the area of Dubai, dust is a common occurrence. However, um, there was an extremely unusual um, for the event. There was an extremely huge amount of dust that got engulfed right over the United Arab Emirates within the atmosphere, dust in the atmosphere, um, from a dust storm that slowly was that moved into that region. That noise is my dog eating his breakfast. Um, that almost definitely had some level of effects on the forecast being, I shouldn't say the forecast, the outcome being even worse than it was. Um, there was still ample support from the weather models that due to the style of low pressure system and level of instability that was moving through that region, that they were going to experience hellacious weather. But this is such a multifaceted, complicated situation. And without getting into the specifics of the forecast, the fact, the outcome, obviously, the fact that there was a cutoff low that helped slow things down, to make these storms move slower, training of storms. This is not totally unprecedented, and we have, have to keep in mind that no matter what the media wants to throw at us, there is no there is no direct answer to this question of why it happened. You cannot tie one singular weather event to climate change. You cannot tie this weather event, cloud seeding. You cannot tie this weather event to that dust cloud. You cannot tie this weather event to even the weather pattern at the time. He wants more food if you couldn't heard. You couldn't tell by that noise. I gotta go refill his bowl. With that being said, it is the combination of the factors. It is an unfortunate, untimely mix of many things that led to this disaster, and do not let any narratives change your opinions about um, what is fact and what is not. Um, I will say this. Um, it's hard to not all countries, all major countries are using cloud seeding to some level or effect. Is it even effective? You cannot find conclusive answers on that from any scientists. Is it harmful? You cannot find any conclusive answers to that from any scientist. So it is what it is. C'est la vie. Let me go feed my dog, and then we'll wrap this up because this has gone on long enough, and I can't believe if you're still awake, you're still awake. All right. Information, it's always more complicated than anyone wants to explain. Any questions about Dubai, please fire. I mean, it was fascinating compiling what I found out. I mean, I've known about cloud seeding, I learned about cloud seeding, but this is it's interesting to see how the media responds to something that could have just been reported as a weather event. Um, and you find different narratives from different countries, different narratives from different media outlets within the states itself. But moving on, back to weather. To add on to the fact that we have Dubai, we had a volcano blow up in Ruang. I hope I am saying that correct. Ruang, Indonesia. And that released. It was a pretty substantial eruption, and was captured on infrared satellite. It was quite impressive. Um, we're still getting more information about that, and more information about how big of an issue that it may present itself to be down the road over the next couple days. I also would like to come back and update more about the impending cold front for Friday. Um, so, in terms of talking about the volcanic eruption that reached 60,000 feet, above 60,000 feet into the atmosphere, that's really high. Um, we're going to talk about all the severe weather that occurred across the plains in the Midwest that is heading our way for tomorrow. Looking forward to having episode 2 up for you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening. Um, I I'm incredibly grateful. I cannot express my gratitude. Words don't do it justice. Um, hopefully, I didn't put you to sleep. If I did put you to sleep, hopefully, sweet dreams. And with that being said, one last piece of news. I am getting a notification that there was a town in Ohio today that was struck by a tornado without much warning. Wasn't that strong of a tornado. However, I've seen images, um, quite a few images of damage because the tornado did touch down right in the middle of town, and I'm sure you'll be hearing about that in the very near future. So, more to come. Thank you again. C'est la vie. Stay beautiful.